Welcome to today's commercial section on engaging with the amateur golfer. I'm hoping we'll move a little bit smoother than the previous one. Just wanted to apologise on behalf of Tim and you guys. I think we got there eventually and had some good discussions. It sounded like we did as well. So this is the second session of the commercial block. And as Tim alluded to earlier, we're focusing more on the amateur golfer. So really nailing down into a specific segment here. For everybody who may not be aware, I've been working behind the scenes for yesterday and then this morning. So I'm Tom Bentley. I'm the communications and event manager for the CPG. So my remit's very much focused on managing the communication channels and the content that goes out across the CPG channels, and then also managing the events and tournament schedule that we run as well. So that's Pro-Ams, championships, and then as well working with Tim to eventually activate the Pro-Am series that we were talking about, the Centurion Pro-Am, etc. So as I've mentioned, we're focusing more on this one, on the actual amateur golfer itself, which is perhaps something that some of you may not have had previous experience with or have had less focus on, but just wanted to bring in a quote from the CPG Thrive strategy document. Capitalizing on the reach and expertise of our network to increase engagement and influence at all levels of the game. So what does that sort of mean? I mean, this really resonates with me in terms of this focus on the amateur golfer. And 5 words sort of stick out in that. Engagement and reach, they sort of go hand in hand. Influence, expertise, all levels. So engagement and reach is what it is. It's connecting with those amateur golfers. It's reaching out to them. It's driving the numbers, increasing the database, increasing our audience size, etc., etc. Influence and expertise. Well, as a organisation of 32 member countries, all PGAs, experts in the areas of professional golf. It is we are what it says on the tin, so to speak. We are experts in the game. The PGA members that we represent are experts in the game. And then all levels of the game, again, alluding to the fact that whilst we represent PGA members, and the purpose of this session is primarily focusing on those other levels, the amateur golfers, right from grassroots all the way up to the elite levels of the sport. So I won't go too much into this slide in particular, just because Tim did go into it in quite a lot of depth and detail in the previous session. But what I think is important to highlight on this one in particular is point number 2: new audiences. As I say, we're going to be focusing on the amateur golfer in particular, and so this is really a recurring theme across the next few slides. But what is important to understand is that 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all come into what I'm going to talk about in some form or another. It's just that I think the key emphasis on this one is the new audiences as well. So engaging with the amateur golfer, I like to look at this in 2 ways as PGAs. As a PGA organisation, we have direct and indirect ways of connecting with amateur golfers. So I think most of you would probably agree in that we have, as a PGA association, representing PGA members who in turn work at golf clubs, facilities, venues that amateur golfers consume on a daily basis. We have an indirect link to pretty much the majority of the amateur golfer audience through some form or another, and primarily that's through our membership. But for me, it's the other side of that is then that direct connection, the PGA directly to the amateur golfer, and how we can focus on improving that in some ways. And these 5 points here try to focus in on that. So just to briefly highlight, the club PGAs is the main part, but within that, under 4, we've got content events, short form golf, and parents in golf. That list is not exhaustive, but it is a good way of looking at it. And those 4, I've purposely labelled those as 1.1, 1.2, because they can come under the club PGA model as services or benefits that we could provide to amateur golfers through a club PGA entity, but also are in their own rights, important ways of engaging with the amateur on a general basis as well. So just to briefly go through each: content, creation of engaging content, tailored communication assets, campaign-based activities, and then effectively delivering that content. Events, as Tim mentioned in the previous session, having some sort of international pro-am series that delivers value to you, our member countries, to the PGA members themselves, and then to amateur golfers alike. Short form golf, so various different ways of reducing the time to play the game on and off the course, that encourages participation, gets amateur golfers playing the game, and also generates a more diverse demographic that engages with the sport as well. And then Parents in Golf, we will be going into this in a bit more detail later on in the Congress, but it's a new education program that connects coaches, parents and children, ultimately the amateurs as well, through golf. So they're sort of the key areas that I'm going to be focusing on in this presentation briefly. So Club PGAs, they are really ultimately the main platform to provide a direct connection between yourselves as PGA organisations and the amateur golfer. Through a central menu of services to benefit, you can provide value to these golfers and entice them to join your organisation as members without the need to be a full PGA professional member. What is the result of doing that? Well, this widens the net almost entirely. It raises the scope for who we can engage with, not just the full PGA members, but everybody else on a daily basis, to an audience that's far greater than what it is now. So Club PGA is what you think it is, and it can provide a various menu of services, and those services can be adapted country to country depending on what you see fit to benefit the amateur golfer that you want to target. But they could be educational offerings and support. They could be tournament opportunities, pro-ams, etc. They can be an online shop or an e-commerce. You could sell your own branded PGA goods. Monetary benefits such as discounted travel offers, etc. And then in terms of content as well, print and digital content. So you could provide magazines, newsletters, consumable content, and then also online digital content as well to those members of your Club PGA. Why would you do this? So the important bit, because this is perhaps for some of you, I know there are some PGA associations that are already doing this in some capacity, but for some of you, this is potentially a shift in the way you focus on who you're providing value to. You know, you're not just providing value to professionals, you're also providing it to amateurs by doing this. So you have to justify that. And I think you have to focus on the three areas: the amateurs, yourselves as PGA organizations, and PGA members. So what are the benefits? For the amateurs, it provides valuable content and offerings to any golfer who wants to improve their golfing experience, especially in the areas where PGA members are primarily involved with. That's the key point. So travel, coaching, equipment, events, that sort of thing that PGA members are engaged in on a daily basis. They're the bits that are really improving the service and to the amateurs. And then to the PGA members themselves, the benefits is that it increases advocacy to them. The amateurs, by having their experiences improved, for example, they may want to seek coaching from your members because they've consumed an article on how to improve their grip. So they want to go to their local PGA member and have a lesson. They might go on a local travel trip to another country or within their own because they've seen valuable offers and discounts that are on the Club PGA. They might also then buy equipment from the shops because they saw an article on a new driver and all of a sudden want to upgrade their current ones. Or they'll enter a Pro-Am tournament that is on the schedule on the Club PGA section. They've seen a Pro-Am, they want to play in it. They're going to engage with their pro to get a team together and play in that. So indirectly and directly, it benefits the PGA members themselves as well. And then for you as a PGA organization, the benefits, the obvious one being revenue generation from potential membership subscriptions. It's also the intangible of providing service and value to your members through engagement with the amateurs. And then it's also the value of the increased reach and engagement that you're creating. So by increasing that net, enlarging the audience that you have, there's then the indirect commercial pull that you have from that, and the potential partnerships that you can create and forge by having an increased audience. So one example of a club PGA I like to use, or two actually I've got, is I'm sure Bernard and Anthony won't mind me mentioning, in PGA Belgium, they've got PGA Club Belgium, which has an online dedicated hub already for members. I think it's a fantastic service that they provide. That's primarily targeted at those who've gone through the level 1 of the education program. So the idea is for them to then go on and support PGA professionals in some way whilst retaining their amateur status. I think they refer to them as initiators. And then another is with the PGA of Holland, with our chairman Frank. He's looking at some way in great detail of creating a system that generates kickbacks to PGA of Holland members through the organisation's activity with the amateur golfers as well. So that's another example of trying to directly give back to the members through the PGA of Holland's activity with amateurs. And so moving on, this is potentially one way you can provide a service through your club PGA, but it's also a more broader point of creating an engaging content strategy to engage with amateurs. So as I said, as part of the PGA, this club PGA, this could be some of the digital content that you create for that, or more widely, it's the general content that you put out across your communication channels. I've just highlighted at the top of that the key areas that this focuses on more. In my view, in that it targets new audiences. You can create new independent assets through digital communication tools, and then also it increases our ability to collaborate as 32 member countries on various content campaigns as well. So the first part of that is that inbound marketing. This is something that for me, as within my own role within CPG, is really important to me. It continuously influences the way I operate, and that inbound marketing, the premise of that is building value, providing conversations and relationships with customers and members through this attract, engage, delight, and that's very much a cyclical process. By delivering the right message to the right person, which is the amateur, at the right time, we can build trust with those amateur golfers and champion them to champion our organisations and our members. It's a cyclical process that benefits everybody. And this is something I'm always thinking about when I'm generating content personally as well. So with an engaging content strategy, I think one of the important bits to mention is that social content and the respective channels that we use now as experts and professionals in communications and marketing, is that social media isn't just a nice thing to have anymore. It's a pivotal part of all our businesses. They're powerful tools to drive consumer engagement with the amateurs, open access to new audience segments, which is what we're talking about right now, and help drive direct and indirect revenue. And as we're looking to reinvent the way we communicate to engage these amateur golfers, the creation of unique, strong campaign-based activities, digital assets, and the valuable content to underpin it all is necessary. These new forms of valuable content with the right delivery will place member countries at the front of new golfing consumers' minds that were previously difficult to access. They'll raise the ability for our organisations to collaborate as well on various different activations. I'll give you some examples in a second, and allow us to still deliver our core messages as experts in the game, representing PGA members to larger audiences. So, for example, some of the stuff that that the CPG specifically is focusing on in the way that we can do this is CPG podcasts. Some of you may listen to that. Potentially branded content, targeted digital and print publications, PGA member-focused content, coaching clinics and other forms of coaching content. All of it that basically delivers value to you, our members, and also the PGA professionals that you represent, with also then that added consideration for what amateur golfers consume, what they want to engage in, and then also it allows us to collaborate. So, for example, the CPG podcast, we can create episodes with various different professionals or yourselves as representatives of associations. So there's real scope to collaborate on the way we generate engaging content moving forwards, and ultimately drive our reach with amateur golfers. So then the second part of this, the second point is the International Pro-Am Series. I won't go into too much detail again of what this includes because Tim did go into this a lot in his previous session. But the idea that we're creating a high-quality tournament schedule in collaboration with UR member countries that combines the championships that we have, the 4-ball, the individual, and the ITC. Although the ITC, obviously, as you're aware, is not going off this week. And then our Pro-Ams as well to offer substantial playing opportunities. The aim, obviously, is to have an event in various different countries in collaboration with UR members, and then have existing events incorporated into the series as well, all raising funds for the trust, all raising profile for each of you. So the benefits, as I've highlighted below there, ultimately raising the profile of your tournaments by incorporating it into an international schedule to a wider audience across participating countries. So, for example, if you're perhaps running a tournament, if Peter's perhaps running a tournament in Slovakia, it raises the profile in other countries as well by being in this collaborative series to other amateurs as well. It raises the general profile of your organisation and your members to this wider audience. It provides huge value and benefit to your PGA members who have the opportunity to play in an international series with an international final. And it drives and provides valuable content and opportunities for PGAs, PGA members, and amateur golfers. I missed the collaboration point out purposely because I'd already mentioned that. So another way of engaging with amateurs specifically, I won't delve too much into this because myself and Frederick Lindgren are going to be going into this in detail tomorrow. But it's short form golf. So shortened versions of the game on and off the golf course are fantastic ways to reach out to new audiences at golf clubs through our PGA members and deliver new, different, exciting development initiatives that help people play the sport and ultimately improve that connection between us and the amateurs. So, for example, junior golf leagues, doubles golf. Again, this is something we're going to be mentioning tomorrow. But junior golf leagues is going to be one of the key parts, which focuses on obviously in the name, junior golfers, boys and girls, their parents, the organisers of the leagues. In doubles golf, this is more predominantly club golfers, young adults, and adults post junior development. So there's a really wide audience that we can target through shortened versions of the game, having series, competitions, etc. Through that as well. And then finally, parents in golf. This is for those of you who aren't aware of it so far, and we will be going again in further detail tomorrow. It's a new educational program developed by the CPG that aims to move the needle of golf development and participation across countries by focusing on parents and their children. It forms a crucial interest group for golf ultimately. And the program focuses on building and supporting the relationship between the child, the coach, and the parent, using golf as the medium for children's development. So one example I just want to use for this is the Ukraine Golf Federation, PGA of Ukraine. They were the first country to activate the program in September, and we've worked closely with Veronica and the team there to do this. And what the result was is that they had 50 participants taking part in that. That included professional golf coaches, but it also included future coaches, amateur coaches, and activators. So again, just exemplifying the point of how this could reach out to new amateur audiences as well. It gives the ability to interact not just with the professionals, but with also non-members, as mentioned, and relevant to this topic, amateurs through education delivery. So in this instance, we were working with activators on delivering an education program to them. And then there's also the indirect coaching link as a result of parents in golf. So coaches will deliver the sessions and lead, and the child's parents, if they want to, are then able to become involved in the coaching process and support the lead coach. So it's there is an indirect link to engaging with those amateurs as well through parents in golf. And then just to sort of summarize that, I know that's a lot of information for you all to take in, but we think there's a huge opportunity to engage with amateur golfers across our network of 32 member countries. By doing so and doing so successfully with increased connection and reach to audiences, our collective influence increases, and in turn, the commercial pull of this one CPG approach does too. This inevitably also spreads the emphasis of our organisation from a sole reliance on PGA members and the programs that we run for them, the services that we provide, to a much more multifaceted, balanced approach that spreads, so to speak, our eggs across multiple baskets. And then also ability to partner, so collaboration with the CPG by creating a network of interconnected club PGAs that channel through our own business club, by sharing content, by us providing you with the supplementary tools and resources to maximize your club PGA proposition. What we're doing is we're providing value to you and your organizations, we're providing value to your PGA members, and then in turn, we're providing value to the amateur golfers themselves. That's it from me. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll pass over to Ian just to summarise and conclude the presentation. Ian,
thank you, Tom, and well done. I think you've summarised things extremely well there. You know, people will ask, engaging with the amateur golfer, you know, why? And you've exactly, you know, you've raised those points extremely well. Simple terms, there's lots of people making a lot of money in golf, but there's not enough coming into PGAs. And obviously, there's many PGA pros struggling as well. And so by doing so, we're going to raise awareness, we're going to increase revenues. And it's not just, I mean, amateur golf is a broad term, but I think as much as anything, it's the golf enthusiast at whatever level they play the game is irrelevant. But if they're keen on improving their golfing experiences, and they're keen in improving their golf, who better to do that through than the PGAs and through the PGA members? So, you know, I think that's absolutely vital. And obviously, if we can get them to engage with PGAs, it is going to create a much more valuable commercial proposition as well. So numerous reasons to get involved. Great, you touched upon doubles golf there, something we're really enthusiastic about, and a little plug for Jack Nicklaus coming on live tomorrow, which will be a lot of fun, I'm sure, as the founder of Doubles Golf. So well done. I think a good summary there, and we can go into our session groups again. We've put some guiding questions and points up that will come on screen again in the sessions. I know some are getting into the sessions quite well. Others are in the background but can still hear. So we'll persevere and we'll keep going with them. I think it's worked better with the larger groups. So discussion points. How could the CPG support your organisation in setting up and developing a club PGA for your association if you want to help you engage with amateur golfers? Possible conflicts. I know it came up in our last session that how do you do that in a way where you're enhancing relationships with individual members rather than competing in any way? How do you currently engage with the amateur golfer in your country? How can you increase that in a positive way? We're looking to build a toolkit of resources for you to use in your club PGA. What should that consist of, and any ideas on how that will effectively enable you to engage with amateur golfers in your country? And then through the increased profile of pro-ams, we've talked about this a bit. Would you like to consider partnering with CPG to create one within the series, an international one, I guess, within the series? So lots to discuss again. So we'll go through to the sessions, and we'll see you through there. Thanks again.